today for our fourth and final webinar in our Thrifty Thursday series. And this one is called Plugging Spending Leaks. So we thought we would start with a question to ask you, what are some of your spending leaks? And you might not know that term yet, and don't worry, we'll get into that in this presentation. But if you do know what a spending leak is, why don't you share in the chat some of the areas that some of your spending leaks, I guess you could say. I can say for me, my kids are my spending leaks, just in general.
Amazon and Target streaming, those are all good.
Yeah, those are.
My husband, that's funny. Sorry, coffee, having cash on hand, kids and sports, dogs.
Yeah. That's part of what we're going to talk about today, is seeing where we're vulnerable. And it sounds like one place we're vulnerable is those people are animals that we love, things we love and care about. And it makes it tricky. Let's see, we got about 30 folks on here. And
Girl Scout cookies, it is that season. Yep. They look so adorable sitting in front of the stores. Would you help support? Yep.
That's true.
Oh.
All right, I think we're ready to begin.
Yeah.
If you need captions, you can be sure to turn them on for yourself. The closed caption button is at the bottom of your Zoom window. For me, I believe it shows up in the more, where there's 3 dots and it says more. Closed caption is one of the options. It just says captions, so feel free to turn that on for yourself. Here's the presenters that maybe by now you're familiar with, because I know we've had some return customers, but this is, here I am, Sharon Powell, and this is Sam, and we're both extension educators with University of Minnesota Extension. This is our contact information below if you want to contact us with further questions. All right, as we've said before, we developed this series as an opportunity to dive a little deeper into topics that we often address when we're talking about a larger present topic. Like if we talked about budgeting, for instance, we might say to you, be sure to look out for your spending leaks, but we usually don't have time to really dig into those topics. And so we decided to do Thrifty Thursdays and look at some of the things that generally we kind of skim over. And as I've already told you multiple times today, we're talking about spending leaks. So this is the little cycle that I find to be helpful. It's called Steps to Creating a Successful Budget. And it starts up here usually with setting financial goals. Once you have your goals, then it's time to track your expenses. And it's in tracking expenses that we're going to spend most of our time today, because that's how you find out information about your spending leaks. So just really quickly, how to track your spending. It is, to me, one of the most powerful tools of money management. It's easy to understand. I find a little more challenging to do. So that's the way a lot of money management is. It's the discipline and the kind of the constancy and the courage to look at the results that are the tricky parts, rather than understanding how it works. So really what tracking your spending is, I always say, is taking data on yourself. It's interesting to me how much we, just people in general, including myself, make financial decisions based upon a very vague understanding of their actual income and outgo in terms of their money. And so doing something like a spending tracker gives you good, hard information about where your money is currently going, and really where it's coming from, if you want to include that part, how often money comes into your system, and then how frequently it goes out, and what you're spending it on. So the way to track your spending is you choose a set period of time. Usually in money management world, we suggest 1 month, because many of us have so many monthly expenses. So if you track for an entire month, you'll be sure to catch all of those monthly expenses. And then you just record every single thing you spend money on, if possible. The more accurate or the more faithful you are to recording where the money is spent, the better picture you will have about where your money is currently going. And what happens over the course of that time is that categories begin to rise to the surface, and they can be categories that you create. So if you wind up going to Target a lot and you can just put target run as a category if you want to. Usually what happens is people are surprised when they see the total amount of money that they spend in certain areas. Other areas they know pretty well. Okay, so did I skip one? Okay, there's a lot of different ways to track your spending, and Sam has gone over several of these with you in the past couple of weeks. So you can just do it the old-fashioned way with pencil and paper. That's what I did when I first started tracking my spending. I just carried it. I'm kind of known for having gigantic purses, and so I just fit a spiral notebook in my big purse, and every time I spent any money, I would write it down. And I just recorded the date that I spent it, how much I spent, where I spent it, and what I spent it on. And through doing that, I could, as I just told you, I could begin sissy categories to kind of emerge or rise to the surface. Another way you can do it, if that doesn't sound workable for you, is you can just keep your receipts. And then at the end of the day, tally them up on, again, like a piece of paper or in an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. But keeping receipts can be a really good way to do it if you don't have time right then to enter the information into your system. You can just hang on to those all day and then do it, at a set period of at a set time. And then the third way I'm suggesting here is you can use an app, and that's what I use now. And I showed you already last week. You can see this cute little dollar icon or wallet icon with money sticking out of it. That's for the app that I like to use, but there are many free apps that you can use. This one happens to be called Spending Tracker, and it's pretty easy and does what I need it to do. So I really like that one. And the other thing I like about it is as you record your expenses over the course of the month, you can see a chart basically of your expenses. So you can quickly see what is your largest category of expenses, what's the smallest, what, just in general, you get a snapshot basically like that. Certainly you can do other things too, like using an Excel spreadsheet. I think last week, several of you mentioned using Excel spreadsheets for your own money management, and that's awesome too. Okay. So once you have a good idea of where your money is going, then it's time to just take a look at your results, take a look at your tracker and see which amounts fit into your spending plan. Like, what is it that you think, yeah, that's reasonable. I was expecting that. That's essential to our family well-being, whatever you want to say, to my own well-being. So that, and then what amounts are larger than you expected, or are there at all? And you're like, I wish I hadn't spent money on that, or, something that you don't feel it really fits within your goals for yourself or your family. Okay, the amounts that are greater than you would like, or that you that you realized. So the amounts that are greater than you like, or that you realized at all, then are known as your spending leaks. It's funny to me how many metaphors or comparisons in money management have to do with water, like spending leaks, cash flow, inflow, outflow. What else? Liquidity is another term, is a lot of them. So this is another area where if you're spending more money than you would like, then that's called a spending leak. Okay, so here's an example. Let's say you are a foodie and you generally have lunch out twice a week. So that's fine. You knew that. That's your plan. You like it. But you start going and doing this, and the cost of one meal is $11. So then if you think about that for 1 month, and I'm in general saying 4 or 8 meals a week, so 4 weeks in a month, which isn't exactly right, but it's close enough for this. So, 8 meals a month, not 8 a week. That's $88. And then the cost per year is $1,056. So it's the $1,056 sometimes that I think catches people off guard. They're like, wow, I didn't realize I was setting aside that, or maybe you're not setting aside, but that's actually how much money is going to those meals that I'm eating out. Okay, so then the next thing to think about, once you got this information, is what you want to do with it. So the nice thing about doing a spending tracker and finding those leaks is that you can begin to make a plan for what you want to do with where your money's going. That's the difference between a spending tracker and a spending plan or a budget. is a spending tracker. You're really just kind of describing how what your spending is like. And then a spending plan or a budget, you actually have a plan for where that money is going. So when you look at your spending tracker, in order to plug your spending leaks, you can begin to make informed decisions. So now you know where the money's going and how much is going there, and you can decide, am I okay with this? In that foodie example, maybe you're okay with spending $88 a month. You're a foodie, as it says in the example. You love food. You love trying different types of food. Let's just imagine you have a set of friends that you all go out together and you talk about it. It just brings you a lot of joy to do this. So perhaps you think to yourself, you know what, $88 a month is okay with me to spend on my food adventures, basically. And if that's the case, that's awesome. Then that's what you're spending, and it's no longer a leak. Now it's just, a decision that you're making. There may be some things that you are spending more money on, and it gives you a chance, and you don't want to be spending that money. So this gives you a chance to investigate why that might be happening. What is going on with you in this spending leak? And then based upon whatever you might look into for yourself, you can make adjustments. So we were talking in the beginning, we asked you to share some spending leaks with you. And I mentioned my children in general are a spending leak. And if I were to investigate why that is the case, it's because I love my children very much. And they often convince me that buying something or spending money on something is going to make them really, really happy. And so that's a real vulnerability for me. I love to see my kids happy more than anything in the world. And so I know, though, through experience, that getting something, even though you feel like it's going to make you super happy, sometimes does, sometimes doesn't. But having somebody like me buy it for my kiddos all the time isn't a healthy way for them to achieve that happiness anyway. So I have to make those decisions about how much money I'm going to spend on them, not in the heat of the moment. I got to decide, kind of when they're not asking for anything in particular, how much money am I willing to contribute and that kind of thing. So that's how I make adjustments. Just this little thing at the end, remember, spending leaks are leaky because they are unplanned. You can fix the leak by planning for the expense. So another example might be someone who goes to work every day, and on their way home, like let's say they love their work, but they work really long hours. And so on their way home from work, they're feeling tired. Their willpower stores are way down, and they're hungry. They're ready to eat. And they think, I don't want to go home and make something. I want to eat something right now. I'm just going to swing by the fast food place and get something. So that's an example of maybe that's a place where they don't want to spend the money that they are, but they are at a moment of kind of low willpower when they're on their way home from work. So what could they do to possibly shift things so that they aren't as tempted to get that stuff when they're swinging by the place? So that's another example. Okay. Oh, I just said this, but leaks are often associated with budget areas where we feel the weakest or the most vulnerable. So identify ways you can help yourself stick to your resolve. So I call myself this. I'm sort of a Pollyanna-ish kind of person. I'm sort of annoyingly positive. And so I understand that not everyone feels the way I do about something like this. But in some ways, to me, this feels like a fun challenge. Like I have this challenge set out before me. What can I do to successfully deal with the challenge? That's the way I look at it. Other people, I totally get it if that is not your perspective. But when I think about it that way, I think, all right, let's see, what are some ways I can help myself stick to my resolve? For one thing, it's, as I already said, making a decision not in the heat of the moment. So I think about these things when I'm not overwhelmed with temptation. So that's one example. Another thing you can do is create barriers to spending. So when you are not in the heat of the moment, how can you set things up in your money management system to make it more difficult for you to just impulsively spend? So an old version of this might be, if you use your credit card sometimes to spend more than you would like, take your credit cards out of your wallet and stick them in a drawer so that you don't have access to them. Now, the credit card companies have arranged it. They always want to make it easy for us to spend. So now you don't necessarily need your credit card in order to buy something using the credit card. So then you need to think of other ways to create a barrier in that example. You can also think about making it so it's harder to get to your money, like your cash, setting it up that you put the money in your savings account, let's say in a different bank across town, so it's hard to access the cash, things like that. There's other things too. Any kind of automation usually is pretty good for money management and a plan that you might have, so that if you decide, I decide, for instance, I want to pay my credit cards in full, and I have those set up on auto pay. So I know I have them set up to be paid in full. And honestly, that knowledge keeps me from using them to just spend willy-nilly, because I think I need to have the money to be able to pay for those bills in full when they come in. You can also create rewards for yourself for not spending. Again, I warned you, I'm kind of a Pollyannish positive person. So I'm like, oh, that's fun. If we don't go out to eat, each time we don't go out to eat, let's put, who knows, $1 in a jar or something like that. And then when we get $10 in there, we'll use that money to buy ourselves a treat at DQ, or I don't know, whatever you want to do, something like that. So you can create kind of a system in that way. And then you can continually reward yourself for the good work you're doing, because it does require discipline to do this. And then the third suggestion I have is a modified envelope method. And I call it a modified envelope method. Sam's been talking about those in past weeks, and I love the envelope method. It's really helpful for me in some areas because it is so concrete. So if there's an area where I tend to overspend, then I like to choose an envelope method to pay for that area of spending. So again, like going out to eat might be a great example. If you have that amount of money you want to spend on a weekend for going out and entertainment and whatever, put that money in the envelope, and then that helps you stick to that plan as opposed to accidentally overspending, for instance. Any questions or anything so far, Sam? See you guys.
We just had a person who mentioned that they thought their bank automatically separates into different spending categories, and a lot of banks will do that, as well as quite a few credit cards have that option in their apps to kind of see where you're spending. You can get a monthly, I guess, pie chart to say this is how much you spent in different categories, but it's only the categories they assign. So sometimes they're not as helpful.
Yeah, it's a good starting place, though. It can sort of get you off the starting block if you look at those and think, The other thing is, like I know at least with my bank, they'll only do kind of a tracker or a categorization for me of the things I use my check card for. So if I use other things that aren't linked to that bank account, I can't see those on their tracker. But if I keep my own tracker, I can be all encompassing, including the cash that I may spend or something like that. So I always recommend, even if that is helpful to you, that if you really want to get a very comprehensive picture, that it's probably the best to keep just your own independent tracker for a little bit. And when you keep your own and you have to enter the data, I've found, just as a little side note, it really acts for me as a spending suppressant. It's like, once I know I'm going to have to write it down and take a record of where I spent the money or what I spent the money on, I'm like, oh boy, do I really want to spend this money on this? Because I'm gonna have to add it to my tracker if I put it in here, And so it can also just serve as a general kind of spending sort of slowdown, which is kind of good too. But I think that's great advice. Thank you for adding that. Okay, so setting yourself up for success. One thing I've found in teaching financial capability is that people are really dedicated to being, what should I say? Like they're really hard on themselves when they are coming up with their spending plan, let's say. So they see how much money they're spending in a certain area and they're like, that is terrible. I'm gonna cut that down by 75%. I'm only gonna spend that much next month. And what it seems to do is not work very well for people, because spending trackers show us kind of in our natural state. And so if you want to make a change in your own life, I 100% support you. But usually small changes are easier for people to accommodate into their lives than big changes. So you want to kind of take it one step at a time. So if you see yourself spending, I don't know, $50 a week on games or something like that, and you think, yikes, that's too much money. Instead of saying, I'm only going to spend $10 a week on games, maybe say to yourself, this next month, I'm going to just go down to $40 a week and see how that works out for you. Because that's still a 20% reduction. That's pretty great. So I would say just try not to overdo it, even though you don't maybe like the results of what you see. People get real frustrated with themselves. Give yourself a little break and pat yourself on the back for making the change, and then kind of start with smaller steps, I would say. And then the second thing I would say is check in about your spending on a regular basis for a while, because you want to see how it's working for you. You've been able to reduce your spending in one area. So is that having an effect upon other areas, or are you feeling good about what's going on? Or you'll see these patterns, and that's really good information for you to have, I would say. Okay. Oh, sorry, my mouse is a little bit pokey. Okay, so really the bottom line on spending leaks, here's just in summary, I would say, don't forget, there are many ways to plug spending leaks. There is no right or wrong. Whatever works for you is great. Do that. I've worked with people before. This one guy, it wasn't really a spending leak, but he wanted to be able to keep his savings safe for himself. He didn't want to have good access. He didn't want to have easy access to his money. So he told me he had this very heavy dresser in his bedroom, as a wooden dresser. And so he one day pulled it out and he put some kind of container behind it, and then he shoved it back close to the wall. And then whenever he had extra money, he would throw it into that container behind the dresser. And he knew that if he wanted to get to that money, he'd have to go to all the work of pulling that heavy dresser out again. So that worked pretty well for him. So, that's not anything you're ever going to see in in a book, but it works great for him. So find what works for you, and that's awesome. And be creative as you would like. It really helps to find something that works for you if you can be creative. And then the method should fit your life, I think is what I said, right? I got to move this method should fit your life. So whatever it is that works for you is great. And then it'll probably change as your life changes, because all money management works best if it's a reflection of the circumstances of your life. And we all know the circumstances of our life kind of go up and down and change. All right. Any questions before we go to the evaluation?
We had a comment about the attainable goal setting, and I just want to, Sharon and I would agree, a lot of finances, it's not that we necessarily don't know it, it's just we don't do it. So it's that behavior change that we need to make, just like everybody does, for finances or health or that kind of stuff as well. So that is a big part of it. And, having these reminders is always good too.
Yeah. And also when you're setting up a budget or creating a money management system for yourself, hardly anybody gets it exactly right the very first time they set it up. It requires a certain amount of adjustment. So if you set it up for yourself and you're like, this isn't working how I thought it was, that doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're continuing to work on the plan. So you're refining it to get it just how it works for you. That's just the way everybody does it. And so please don't feel like you've somehow failed. I talked to so many people when it comes to money management who are like, oh, I'm not any good at it, because they think they haven't done it the way some person told them to do it, when really that's not the case. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Okay. Well, in that case, if you'd like a certificate of participation, they are available upon request. You can email Sam or me, I believe.
And actually, Sharon, I'm going to jump in. Complete the evaluation. There's a question in the evaluation that asks if you want a certificate of participation. Answer yes to that, and it'll be automatically sent to you.
Oh, that's great. That makes it easy. Thanks, Sarah. Sarah, our coworker, is on with us today. She's the kind of the person who set up our entire webinar series, and so she's got all the correct information. Okay, then speaking of that evaluation, here's the link to the evaluation, and I think I can Looks like I can copy it. Oh, Lord, now I'm going to it. I didn't mean to do that, but here's what it looks like. Let me see if I can just grab this right here and stick it in the
I
chat.
did put it in, Sharon.
Oh, you did already? Thank you. All right, let me close this. Oh, yay, it went back to here. Okay, so there's the evaluation and something there's another one about certificates of participation. Sorry, everybody. Let me see, I think I left out my one about well, I told you where the evaluation belongs, but you can also, as you go through the evaluation, there will be information about how to get your wellness points. And so if you complete the evaluation towards the end of that, it tells you how to get your wellness points. Okay, so we have more evaluation or more webinars coming April through whatever, April and May, March through April, May are coming soon. And then we hope you will engage with us. And we have lots of different social media outlets here, as well as a website. And I think that's everything. Oh, here it is. Sorry. I just tested positive for COVID yesterday, so I'm not on my A game here. I put all this together yesterday, but no, I didn't remember where this was. So here you go. This is where the instructions are for all of this stuff.
And you said that would be in the evaluation. I actually just did the evaluation and it didn't have that option for me.
Oh, it didn't?
No, it just had for the certificate, which that's fine. But the evaluation part is not the evaluation, the well-being points is not coming up.
Was there a question in there that asked if you're a University of Minnesota employee?
Yeah.
Answer yes.
Oh, I put
And
no.
then- Yep, you need to answer yes to that, and then it'll take you to the well-being link.
Okay, so do I have to go back through all of the ones that I've already done and go through that, or how would that work? Or should I reach out to you, Sarah? I did get a certificate for all of them, so I can always show my certificate and if I can get points.
Yeah, I'll put my email in the chat and I will give you the name of the person that you can contact for that.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
More about the evaluation. Here you go. Here are some more webinars that are coming up. We still have a few to go in April. Looks like. Oh, I'll leave this up for a second. If you want to take a picture of this QR code, it'll take you right to the different webinars. Oh, I couldn't take that up. Okay, I think that's everything. Stop sharing.
Thank you.